Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to another edition of Crimes of the Week International. Representatives from Spain's Guardia Civil Police say that they have arrested 3 accused drug traffickers this week, following a dramatic boat chase that ended with the suspects trying to make a run for it on a beach. According to reports, the incident began sometime around 4 a.m. on April 21st, when Guardia Civil Police were alerted to the presence of a small inflatable speedboat that appeared to be heading from North Africa to the popular resort island of Mallorca. Suspecting that the boat was being used to transport drugs, authorities kept an eye on it until it landed at Kuala beach, along the island's southeastern coast. When 3 suspects were observed unloading bundles of hash and grabbing containers of gasoline from 2 waiting all-terrain vehicles at the beach, they decided to move in. Upon realizing that they had been discovered, the suspects quickly got back into their boat and fled the beach, leaving some of their drugs and supplies behind. However, since the men had been unable to pick up their gas, authorities knew that they would not be able to travel far. After deploying a boat of their own along with a helicopter, police were able to catch up with the suspects again, initiating a chase. This continued until the men deliberately beached their boat a couple of miles south near the resort area of Kuala. The suspects then proceeded to make a mad dash up the beach to try and avoid police, leaving dozens of confused and staring tourists in their wake. According to the most recent available reports, one of the men was arrested shortly after the bizarre scene on the beach, while the 2 other men were arrested the following day. Police say that they also seized roughly 1,200 kilograms, or about 2,600 pounds of hash, between the 2 crime scenes. Authorities in the Australian state of New South Wales say that a man is lucky to be alive this week after he was the alleged victim of a brutal stabbing attack at the hands of his roommate. According to reports, the incident took place sometime on April 25th when the victim, identified only as a man in his 40s, was attacked by his roommate in their shared residence in the suburb of North Sydney. When police were called to the scene, they found the man suffering from 6 stab wounds to the chest and 1 to the thigh. The suspect allegedly committed the crime with an 8-inch-long kitchen knife. While the male victim is said to be in stable condition at the time of this recording, he is apparently very lucky. One of the puncture wounds to his chest reportedly came within half an inch of one of his lungs. Despite the brutality of the crime, the victim has seemingly come out in defense of his attacker so far, saying that the city's rental crisis is to blame. He claims that rising prices and a shortage of housing have forced people into bad living situations like the one he and his roommate were in, and that prior to the attack, they were being evicted. The suspect, who has also not been identified by name, has now been charged with assault causing actual bodily harm and is due to appear back in court sometime in June. Representatives from the Hong Kong police force say that 8 people have been arrested this week following the targeted stabbing death of an elderly man last month. According to reports, the incident took place at around 3:30 a.m. on March 29th, when the 70-year-old victim was on his way to work in Hong Kong's Yuen Long district. As the man was walking down the street, he was ambushed by at least 2 people who repeatedly stabbed him with a knife. The man was pronounced dead at a local hospital less than 2 hours later. When police reviewed surveillance footage from the area in the aftermath of the crime, they were able to uncover evidence that it was a targeted attack. The video reportedly showed a white car pulling up and waiting near the crime scene about 15 minutes before the murder, which at least one of the attackers later got out of. Another vehicle that was parked a short distance away allegedly contained several more suspects who served as lookouts. When the attack was over, both vehicles quickly fled the scene. Using this information, plus other undisclosed evidence investigators reportedly uncovered, police conducted a series of raids this week that resulted in the arrests of 8 people. 2 of those people have now been charged with murder, while 2 others have been charged with conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. The remaining suspects have so far been released on bail, except for one person who police say that they are still actively questioning. At the time of this recording, authorities had declined to release the alleged motive behind the crime, though given the coordinated nature of the attack, plus the fact that the police force's Organized Crime Bureau is said to be leading the investigation, it's safe to say that investigators believe that gang or drug activity likely played a role. The situation is still developing. People across Kenya are reportedly stunned and outraged this week following the chilling discovery of dozens of bodies in a remote forest that has been linked to a so-called starvation cult. According to reports, the incident began last month when police began a high-profile investigation into the deaths of 2 children who allegedly starved to death in the custody of their own parents. Authorities learned that the parents were followers of the Good News International Church, a group that describes itself as a Christian religious organization, but which officials now allege is a dangerous cult. At the center of the organization is Paul Mackenzie Ntenge, a man who was previously a well-known televangelist in Kenya, but who previously came under fire in 2017 after he reportedly urged families not to send their children to school, saying education was not recognized in the Bible. Police now say that they have reason to believe that Ntenge's teachings have grown considerably darker in the intervening years. Following the launch of the investigation into the deaths of the 2 children, further allegations emerged suggesting that Ntenge had been instructing his followers to starve themselves, saying that this was the only path to heaven. This week, investigators began a search of the Shakahola Forest, an 800-acre area of remote woodland about 40 miles outside the coastal town of Malindi, where Ntenge is said to preach to his followers. It was here that police reportedly began to uncover mass graves. While the situation on the ground is still very much developing at the time of this recording, officials say that so far they have exhumed dozens of bodies from these graves, which were allegedly scattered throughout the forest land. Estimates of the amount of dead range widely, but the most current reports suggest the remains of at least 90 people have been found. Disturbingly, authorities say that the majority of the deceased appear to be children, and that there are many areas of the vast forest that they still have not been able to get to yet. At the same time, police say that they have also come across nearly 36 survivors of the cult. However, many of them remain loyal to Ntenge and are refusing help. A few who were extremely frail but who refused treatment were reportedly taken to local hospitals. Currently, Ntenge is in police custody while the inquiry into the activities of him and his followers continues. He had already been arrested in connection with the 2 deaths last month, though was freed on bail before being re-arrested when the disturbing discoveries began this week. At the present time, it seems that he is yet to face formal charges. Authorities in the German state of North Rhine-Westphalia say that a 27-year-old man is in police custody following a knife attack at a fitness center that left 4 people seriously injured. According to reports, the incident took place on the afternoon of April 18th at a John Reed fitness location in the city of Duisberg. Police were called to the scene around 5:40 p.m. with reports of multiple people being attacked with some kind of bladed weapon. Upon arriving, officers found 4 male victims between the ages of 21 and 32. All of them were seriously injured, but the 21-year-old in particular was in critical condition. The suspect, meanwhile, had fled the scene. Following the attack, police reviewed surveillance footage in the area, which managed to capture an image of the alleged assailant. The image was released to the public at the same time that a reward of €2,000 was announced for information leading to the man's arrest. Thanks to at least 2 witnesses that reportedly came forward, police were able to locate the suspect at his apartment on the night of April 22nd. 2 knives were apparently found inside the residence that investigators say could have been used in the attack. So far, the suspect has been described only as a 27-year-old man of Syrian nationality. He was taken into custody on suspicion of attempted murder. At the time of this recording, few other details have been released about the case. Authorities have not commented on a motive, other than to say that they believe the attack was targeted and that the 21-year-old victim appeared to have been the main focus of the crime. Other reports have stated that the suspect and one or more of the victims may have been involved in an altercation prior to the incident. However, these sources also state that there were no actual cameras in the gym itself, making it difficult to piece together the exact sequence of events leading up to the violence. Currently, it appears that the 27-year-old remains in custody, while the 21-year-old victim is still fighting for his life in the hospital. Authorities in the Malaysian capital of Kuala Lumpur say that a 34-year-old man is potentially looking at some serious prison time after he was arrested in connection with a recent arson case that became a viral story across the country. According to reports, the incident took place sometime after 3:30 p.m. on April 13th outside of Suria KLCC, Malaysia's most iconic and well-known shopping mall. It began when someone set fire to a vehicle in one of the scooter and bike parking areas located just steps from one of the shopping center's entrances. The blaze spread quickly, engulfing several other vehicles that were near it. By the time authorities got the situation under control, at least 11 motorcycles had been destroyed, as well as 4 electric scooters. Images and videos of the incident were captured by dozens of onlookers who posted the footage to social media, where the story rapidly went viral. Thanks to security cameras in the area, it only took police a matter of hours to track down the person who they now say was responsible for the whole thing. The man has since been identified as a 34-year-old food delivery driver named Azriel Kamarunzaman. Despite the swift nature of Azriel's arrest, unfortunately, little else appears to have been released about the case at this time. This includes the motive behind the crime, which currently remains a mystery. At the time of this recording, Azriel has been charged with mischief by fire and has pleaded not guilty. If convicted, authorities say that he is looking at a sentence of up to 14 years in prison, plus a hefty fine. Authorities in the Brazilian state of Goiás say that 7 suspects are dead this week and several others are on the run, following a deadly shootout with police during a raid operation. According to reports, the incident took place sometime on the night of April 25th, when military police went to carry out a raid at a property in the municipality of Novo Gama, located just outside the southern edge of the country's federal district. The operation had been planned after authorities received information that a well-armed group of at least 12 suspects was planning to rob a toll road in the city of Cristalina, which serves as a vital arterial connection to the capital. Hoping to catch the suspects by surprise, police chose to carry out the raid on the gang's stash house in Nova Gama the night before they reportedly planned to attack the toll road. Still, when authorities raided the property, they were met with gunfire from several high-powered weapons. A shootout unfolded, leading to the deaths of 4 of the suspects. 3 others who were wounded in the incident later died in hospital. At the time of this recording, officials say that they are looking for the remaining 5 suspects who managed to flee the area during the violent confrontation. The situation is still developing. Representatives from the Royal Thai Police say that they have arrested an accused serial killer this week after she was linked to a chilling pattern of mysterious deaths that authorities now believe were deliberate poisonings. According to reports, the case began on the morning of April 14th when a 32-year-old woman named Siraporn Koi Kanwang was found dead at a pier in the province of Ratchaburi. A woman who witnessed the incident said that she had seen Koi go down to the water to release fish as part of a Buddhist protection ritual, during which time she had collapsed and become unresponsive. Emergency workers were called to the scene and tried to revive Koi, but sadly, they were unable to save her. While Koi's death was initially ruled to be caused by a sudden heart attack, her family members were suspicious. She had supposedly been on a trip with her friend, Sararat Rengsawataporn, at the time of her death, but she told Koi's family members that she hadn't been anywhere near the pier at the time of her death. The family began to push police to look further into the matter, leading to an investigation. Authorities discovered that Sararat had lied to Koi's family concerning her whereabouts on the day of the crime. The same witness who had seen Koi go down to the water alone stated that she had seen Sararat with her, though by the time she collapsed, she was nowhere to be found. CCTV footage from the area reportedly confirmed this. It showed Sararat hanging back while Koi went to the water before pacing around as if waiting for something. When Koi collapsed, Sararat had driven away from the scene, taking her friend's belongings with her. This strange behavior became all the more relevant when investigators conducted an autopsy on Koi's body. It showed high levels of cyanide. Koi had been poisoned. While all of this was disturbing enough, when authorities looked further into Sararat's background, they reportedly found cases of mysterious deaths all around her. What's more, all of them seemed to follow a similar pattern. People would loan large sums of money to Sararat or invest in a business with her, and then sometime later would collapse and die from a sudden illness. Right now, investigators say that they have connected at least 13 such cases to Sararat, with only 2 alleged victims surviving their ordeals. One woman, identified only by the name Pla, says that she fell suddenly ill shortly after Sararat had borrowed the equivalent of approximately $7,300 US from her. The day that Pla almost died, she had lunch with Sararat at a mall, and she had given her something that she said was an herbal remedy for her cough. When Pla's symptoms started, she asked Sararat to drive her to the hospital, only for Sararat to pretend to get lost on the way. It was only because Pla was able to call an ambulance herself that she was reportedly able to make it to help in time to save her life. Another of Sararat's alleged victims was a former boyfriend of hers. When he died suddenly, she reportedly didn't attend the funeral and actually threw a birthday party elsewhere instead. However, family members claim that she later showed up at their home asking for money and claiming that she was carrying the deceased man's child. This week, authorities arrested Sararat in connection with Koi's alleged murder, though so far it appears that they are still building their case to add further charges. Part of the problem, they say, is that most of the victims' families had no idea there was any reason to be suspicious about their loved ones' deaths, so they did not request autopsies at the time. Even survivors like Pla say that they did not connect the dots about what had happened to them until news of the investigation broke. At the time of this recording, Sararat remains in custody and has been denied bail. The investigation continues. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.